What if I told you that somewhere in the dark woods of New Jersey, a dead child waits beneath a bridge, ready to return your coins from beyond the grave? Welcome to SherlockMode. Deep in the heart of West Milford, New Jersey, there runs a road that locals whisper about when the sun goes down. Clinton Road stretches for 10 lonely miles through thick forest where daylight barely touches the ground. This is not just any road. This is a place where reality bends, where the living meet the dead, and where one tragic story has haunted travelers for decades. Our story begins on what seems like an ordinary bridge. The locals call it deadmanscurve, a tight turn that crosses over Clinton Reservoir. The water below is dark and cold, hiding secrets that have remained buried for years. But this bridge holds a mystery that has puzzled visitors and investigators alike. Legend speaks of a young boy who met his end in these frigid waters many years ago. The exact details of his death remain unclear, shrouded in different versions of the same tragic tale. Some say he was dared by his friends to stand on the bridge while they drove away. When they returned, he was gone, swallowed by the dark water below. Others believe he was struck by a speeding car as he crossed the bridge at night. The impact sent him tumbling over the guardrail and into the reservoir, where his cries for help were silenced forever by the cold water. But death, it seems, was not the end of his story. Visitors to Deadmanscurve began reporting strange encounters. They would arrive at the bridge after dark, peer over the guardrail, and see something impossible: coins scattered along the creek bed, glittering like fallen stars beneath the murky water. But these were not lost coins from careless pockets. The tradition started small, with brave souls testing an urban legend that seemed too wild to be true. They would take a coin from their pocket, make a wish or say a prayer, and toss it over the bridge into the dark water below. Then they would wait. What happened next defied all logic and reason. Many reported that by morning, their coin would mysteriously appear back on the road near their car. Others claimed to hear a soft splash in the water moments after tossing their coin, followed by small footsteps on the bridge behind them. Sarah Chin, a college student from nearby Patterson, decided to test the legend herself one October night in 2019. She drove to Clinton Road with her boyfriend Mike, both skeptical but curious. As they approached Deadmanscurve, the temperature inside their car seemed to drop 10 degrees. Sarah took a quarter from her purse and walked to the center of the bridge. The silence was absolute, broken only by the gentle lapping of water against the bridge supports below. She tossed the coin and watched it disappear into the darkness with a soft plop. As they turned to leave, both Sarah and Mike heard it. A second splash, smaller and more deliberate than the first. Then, clear as daylight, the sound of wet footsteps on the bridge behind them. When they spun around, the bridge was empty, but water droplets glistened on the asphalt where no rain had fallen. The next morning, Sarah found her quarter placed carefully on her car windshield, still damp with reservoir water. But this was only the beginning of Clinton Road's dark mysteries. The area had already gained notoriety for far more sinister reasons than ghostly children. On May 18, 1983, a cyclist pedaling down Clinton Road noticed vultures circling overhead. Thinking they had found a dead animal, he investigated and made a horrifying discovery. A human head was visible from an open garbage bag, with ice crystals still clinging to the remains. The victim was Daniel Deppner, and the medical examiner found evidence of cyanide poisoning and freezing. This discovery would later connect Clinton Road to Richard Kuklinski, the notorious Iceman killer who used the area as his personal dumping ground for victims. But the real horror was just beginning to unfold. The isolation that made Clinton Road perfect for disposing of bodies also made it a magnet for other dark activities. Reports began surfacing of cult gatherings, animal sacrifices, and mysterious figures in robes conducting rituals in the deep woods. Deep in the woods off Clinton Road stand the ruins of what locals call Cross Castle. Built in the 1900s as a hunting lodge, it was abandoned and left to decay. But the crumbling walls and broken windows became something far more sinister, a gathering place for those who worship darkness. Visitors to Cross Castle report finding animal bones arranged in strange patterns, candle wax melted into pentagrams, and graffiti that speaks of summoning ancient powers. The air itself feels thick and oppressive, as if the very stones remember the horrors they have witnessed. But perhaps the most chilling aspect of Clinton Road is how it seems to exist outside normal reality. Drivers report their GPS systems malfunctioning, showing impossible routes, or simply going blank. Cell phones lose signal completely, cutting off any connection to the outside world. Time itself seems to bend on Clinton Road. Drivers who enter the road at midnight find themselves emerging hours later, though their clocks show only minutes have passed. Others report the opposite, losing entire hours they cannot account for. The forest watches everything. Trees lean inward over the road as if trying to touch the passing cars. In the darkness between the trunks, shapes move that do not belong to any known animal. Eyes reflect headlight beams from impossible heights. Local police officer James Morrison has patrolled Clinton Road for 15 years, and even he admits the place defies explanation. He has responded to calls of screaming in the woods, only to find nothing. He has chased speeders who simply vanished at deadmanscurve. But it is the ghost boy who remains the most persistent mystery. Morrison has interviewed dozens of witnesses over the years, all reporting the same impossible phenomenon. Coins thrown into the water, returned by unseen hands. Footsteps on empty bridges. A child's laughter echoing from beneath the dark water. The legend grew stronger with each telling. Teenagers would dare each other to visit deadmanscurve alone. College students would make pilgrimages to test their courage. But some visitors never returned the same. Jennifer Walsh was one such visitor, a graduate student studying folklore. She came to Clinton Road in 2021 to document the ghost boy legend for her thesis. She spent 3 nights on the bridge, recording everything. What she captured would change her life forever. On her audio recordings, clear as day, a child's voice can be heard saying "thank you" after each coin is tossed. But no child was visible on the bridge. Security cameras she set up showed coins disappearing underwater, then inexplicably appearing on the road the next morning. But the most disturbing evidence came on her final night. As Jennifer prepared to leave, she heard splashing in the water below. When she shined her flashlight down, she saw something that made her blood run cold. The silhouette of a small figure standing in the shallow water, looking up at her. The figure raised one small hand and waved. Then it pointed to something in the water near the bridge supports. Jennifer's flashlight revealed dozens of coins embedded in the mud, far more than could have been thrown by casual visitors. This was a collection spanning decades. As Jennifer stared in amazement, the figure began to fade, becoming translucent before disappearing entirely. But its voice carried across the water, clear and sad. "I have been waiting so long for someone to see me." Then silence returned to deadmanscurve. Jennifer's research revealed something extraordinary. Records from the 1960s showed that a 10-year-old boy named Timothy Fletcher had indeed drowned near the bridge during a family camping trip. His body was never recovered from the deep reservoir. Timothy's death had been ruled an accident, but his family always suspected there was more to the story. He had been an excellent swimmer and knew the area well. The circumstances of his drowning had never made sense to those who knew him best. As Jennifer dug deeper, she uncovered witness statements from that tragic night. Campers had reported seeing a group of older teenagers bullying Timothy earlier in the evening. They had taken his wallet and thrown it in the water, daring him to retrieve it. The teenagers were never questioned by police. Their families had influence in the small community, and the case was quickly closed as an accidental drowning. Timothy Fletcher became just another statistic, his truth buried beneath the dark waters of Clinton Reservoir. But Timothy's spirit, it seems, never found peace. The coins thrown by visitors represent the wallet he died trying to retrieve. Each coin returned is his way of saying he never got justice for what happened that night. He remains at the bridge, waiting for someone to acknowledge his truth. Other fandom residents also call Clinton Road home. The ghost of Giles Jones, a cruel farmer who terrorized the area in life, still chases visitors in his phantom black pickup truck. His spirit knows no peace because he lived a life filled with hate and violence. The road itself has become a magnet for negative energy, drawing both the living and the dead who seek to perpetuate darkness. Real criminals have mixed with supernatural ones, creating a perfect storm of horror that spans both worlds. Modern paranormal investigators who visit Clinton Road report equipment malfunctions, unexplained cold spots, and electronic voice phenomena. Their instruments consistently pick up the voice of a young boy saying, "Please help me," near Dead Man's Curve. The activity intensifies during anniversary dates. Every year on the night Timothy Fletcher drowned, multiple witnesses report seeing a full apparition of the boy standing on the bridge. He appears solid enough to cast a shadow, but vanishes when approached. Local authorities have tried to discourage visitors by increasing patrols and posting warning signs. But the legend has grown beyond their control. Clinton Road has become a pilgrimage site for those seeking proof that death is not the end. The most haunting aspect of the Ghost Boy legend is its persistence across generations. Parents who visited the bridge as teenagers now warn their children away. Yet each generation discovers the legend anew, drawn by the same irresistible curiosity. But Clinton Road holds more than just one ghost boy. The entire 10-mile stretch has become a supernatural highway where the boundaries between life and death have worn thin. It is a place where tragedy has soaked so deep into the earth that it has changed the very nature of reality. As midnight approaches on Clinton Road, the temperature drops noticeably. Fog rises from the reservoir and creeps across the bridge like reaching fingers. The silence becomes so complete that visitors can hear their own heartbeat echoing off the water below. This is when Timothy Fletcher is most active. Witnesses report seeing wet footprints appear on the bridge with no visible source. Coins thrown during these midnight hours are returned within minutes, still dripping with reservoir water. The ghost boy has never been reported as threatening or malevolent. Instead, witnesses describe a profound sadness emanating from his presence. He seems to be trying to communicate something important, something that could finally bring him peace. Some paranormal researchers believe Timothy's spirit is trapped because his death was never properly investigated. The injustice of his drowning, combined with the cover-up that followed, has anchored his soul to the location where he died. Let us analyze this mystery like true detectives. If Timothy Fletcher really haunts Dead Man's Curve, what evidence supports this theory? First, we have the consistent witness reports spanning decades. Hundreds of people cannot all be lying or mistaken about the same specific phenomena. Second, we have the physical evidence. Coins are genuinely returned to visitors, often in impossible ways. Security cameras have captured this phenomenon, ruling out human tricksters. The coins are also consistently damp with reservoir water, despite being placed on dry pavement. Third, we have the historical connection. Timothy Fletcher's disappearance matches the timeline when the Ghost Boy legend began. The location of his drowning corresponds exactly with the bridge where supernatural activity is reported. Fourth, we have a motive. If Timothy was indeed bullied into the water and his death covered up, his spirit would have reason to remain earthbound. Unfinished business and injustice are classic reasons ghosts are said to linger. The teenagers who bullied Timothy that night would be adults now, possibly still living in the area. If they were from influential families in the 1960s, some may have gone on to prominent positions in local government or business. A proper investigation into Timothy's death might finally give him the justice he seeks. Interviewing surviving witnesses, reviewing police files, and examining the influence wielded by certain families could reveal the truth about that tragic night. The coin-returning behavior could be Timothy's way of proving he exists and demanding attention for his case. Each returned coin is like a piece of evidence he is presenting, saying, "Look at me. Remember me. Find out what really happened." If the bullying theory is correct, Timothy's wallet was thrown in the water as a cruel prank. His attempts to retrieve it led to his drowning. The coins thrown by visitors represent that wallet, and by returning them, he is completing the task that cost him his life. The electromagnetic disturbances reported on Clinton Road could be caused by the intense emotional energy trapped in the location. Strong emotions are believed by paranormal researchers to affect electronic equipment and create residual hauntings. But there is another possibility we must consider. What if Timothy Fletcher is not the only spirit at Dead Man's Curve? Clinton Road's history of violence and death may have created a spiritual crossroads where multiple entities gather. The area's connection to organized crime, cult activity, and accidental deaths has created layers of supernatural activity. Timothy may be the most visible spirit because his story is the most tragic and his need for justice the strongest. Modern technology offers new ways to investigate Timothy's case. Ground-penetrating radar could search the reservoir bottom for his remains. DNA testing could identify any recovered evidence. Digital forensics could examine the audio recordings for voice pattern analysis. If Timothy's body could be recovered and properly buried, it might give his spirit the peace it seeks. Sometimes ghosts linger because their physical remains were never properly laid to rest according to their family's wishes. The teenagers responsible for Timothy's death may still be alive and could finally confess what happened at night. Guilt has a way of growing heavier with age, and the paranormal activity at deadmanscurve might pressure them to reveal the truth. Until that day comes, Timothy Fletcher remains at deadmanscurve, returning coins to visitors and waiting for someone to champion his cause. His story reminds us that some mysteries transcend death itself, and that justice delayed is not always justice denied. Clinton Road continues to challenge our understanding of reality. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, the consistent reports of paranormal activity demand explanation. The ghost boy of deadmanscurve represents more than just a local legend. He represents the power of truth to survive even death itself. The next time you drive past a bridge at night, remember Timothy Fletcher. Remember that some stories are too persistent to be mere fiction. And remember that sometimes, the dead have more to teach us about justice than the living ever will. If you enjoyed unraveling this mystery, like and subscribe to SherlockMode.